Hi there, I'm Cher Johnston. Welcome to my happy place. I'm going to work on this. I'll show you the whole thing before I'm done, but I have some DMC tapestry wool. I might need to get more wools because these are really thick, but I want thick today because, I don't know, because I just do. I'm going to make a tree on this here thing here. I have the outline here. I'm going to start in the center at the bottom. And you know what? I have a tapestry needle. That's not going to work. I decided to leave that part in because I'm going to show you how to thread the needle. This is a number 20 chenille needle. So a tapestry needle has a blunt tip and it's not going to really pierce my fabric. So I'm going to take, and some people use this method to thread a needle all the time, where you go put the thread between your thumb and your finger like this and put the needle to the thread. People say, Sarah Humphrey says that's the way that you should do it. And it's the easiest way. And frankly, I don't. I learned to thread a needle when I was very young, and I have a hard time. But I can't get the tapestry needle, the yarn in the tapestry needle without doing it that way. And you have to have a nice tapestry needle to get this yarn, not tapestry needle, a chenille needle, to get the yarn through the fabric. So I'm going to do I'm going to do a stitch, and I'll tell you what it is in just a minute after my brain kicks in. Go down here, right to left. You stitch this one, if you're right-handed, left to right, but you put the needle in from the right to the left. And this is called a herringbone. Now, it's really loose and floppy. I'm going to I'm going to couch those threads down with some beads. I can't quit thinking about these green. So Christmas, right? Today is Midlife Monday. If you don't watch Midlife Stockman, you should. He has almost 1 million followers now. He's in Detroit, Michigan. And I woke up this morning and it was like 50 degrees, which is cold for us. I was freezing. And then I turn on the TV. Here's Midlife Stockman in Detroit with snow. And I just go, yeah, that's why I'm here in California. Because it's too freaking cold there. So cold there. Right. I'm getting these a little bit too tight. And if I used a hoop, that would actually work better. But If you know me, you know I don't use a hoop. Don't like it. I don't like it. All right, that's better. But we're gonna pack those down with some beads and sequins and fluffy stuff. All right, next I'm gonna go up here and go to the back of my fabric and end off. You don't want a thread, especially one that frays like this. Not frays, but it does wear when you pull it through the fabric. This thread wears. You want to make sure that you don't have a thread that's any longer than your hand or your wrist or the tip of your finger to your elbow. So I'm going to pull it out and pull it down to my elbow. I think trying a different camera angle today. And now it's not morning. Oh, yes, it is. It's just before noon. And it's 70 degrees. So we're going to have a wonderful day here today. Wonderful, warm, sunny day. As is normal in Southern California. Okay. Now I'm going to go. You notice that I'm following the lines here. Normally with a with this stitch you would use parallel lines, but because I'm doing a tree, I'm using these lines that I drew in the shape of a tree. Herringbone, that's what it is. Oh my gosh. All right. They're getting a little bit wonky and I don't care. Okay, the next part, I think, can we get one more in here? Let's just try it. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to do the next part off camera, but I do want to show you what I have here. And I want to show you before I get too much further. I told myself I need to clean, I need to organize my stuff a little bit. I have things that I bought that I can't find right now, and I know that I have to clean to find them. So I picked up a batch of these Christmas fabrics, and I thought, I don't think I'm going to do much with them. So I'm going to iron them, put them away. And then I got inspired to do this little thing. This one has beads on it. And here I'm just going to zoom you out a bit. All right. This is 18 inches by 10 and a half. If you took a fat quarter and folded it in half, you would have about this much. Then I have little pieces of fabric. This was a little strip that I had that I folded. I'll show you the thing that I have that I use to fold. It's not really bias tape because it's not cut on the bias, but I'll show you. I have some that I did cut on the bias, but I put this and then I put this on that edge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this like this. And I'm going to make a little pouch. But I'm also going to make, sorry, I just hit the microphone. I'm also going to make little sort of box corners. Let's see. Just put a pin in here. I measured 5.5 inches from the bottom and then an inch either side of that mark. Put those two marks together and pinned it. So the sides are going to get sewn together like this. And it'll give it sort of a box bottom, kind of. But I'll show you that more later. I wanted to show you because I might end up sewing it up, getting carried away and just sewing it up. I'm going to do beads. I'm going to do those off camera because it's fiddly. Okay. Still have a little light. Tell me, do you have a box filled with buttons? I have a box of buttons. My mother always had a box of buttons. So I saved all my buttons. Okay. I'm going to sew those on off camera. Before it gets too dark, though, I wanted to show you. I'm just going to park this needle here. I'm going to show you what I plan to do here. Let me move you out a little bit. So this is my bias binding. It's called a bias binding because it's cut on the bias. The stripes go with the straight of the grain. Forgot to turn, I don't know if that makes a difference. Okay. So the grain goes this way. So it's cut on the bias. Then I take this little doobie. I don't know what this is called. I have no idea. I've had it for ever and a day. And this is a 2-inch strip. You put it in like this. And then as you pull it out, this little doobie, this little thingy, folds it for you and you iron it. Okay? So you iron it, then you have your bias binding. I ironed it this way as well. So before I do this up, I wanted to show you what I did. I just took pieces. This is a herringbone stitch. This is just some cross stitches along here. I sew them together the way you would English paper piecing pieces, and then I sewed down the seam allowance. This is another herringbone stitch, and another herringbone stitch, and a twisted chain stitch, another herringbone. This is a cretin stitch. This I sewed on and I did some stem stitches, and then I did this satin stitch in there. I really like that. This little piece, there's some little beads. There's a cross stitch there, a herringbone stitch there, and little tiny beads. Basically what happened was that I was cleaning up my Christmas fabrics and I decided to stitch a few together, and then it just kind of morphed into this. I found this on the floor and I went, oh, I can't throw that away. How silly is that? So I have other little pieces that I put on here. Now I have this mark is 6.5. These two marks are an inch away from that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half there and pin it. And then on the other side, I'm going to fold it and pin it. Then, oops, just slightly off. Then these get folded up. See, so I have this fold in the bottom. Then the sides it gets folded down. And I wish I had some bigger pins, but these are little bitty applique pins. Then we take this and this gets sewn on here. No, let's not make it complex. Maybe I will, I don't know. But basically you take this and there's a fold right there at the 1/2 inch mark. And I can just sew that in my sewing machine. I can just do that if I wanted. And then flip it over and over and stitch it down. Now I might be able to sew it down to one side so that I don't lose that much of that pocket. Anyway, that's the plan. And it's getting late in the evening, and I probably won't film much more. This little guy has to go on there somewhere. Like right in the middle there. That's not a button I was going to use as a closure, but maybe I will. Maybe I will put it on here and then make a buttonhole. No, nah. Let's put it way over here so that we know it's not supposed to be buttonhole. And I need to find some brown and do a little chain stitch there for a tree trunk. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll show you where I'm at. All right, not the next day, but 2 days later. And look at my little kitty. Her little tail was kind of flapping a little bit, but she's done now. All right, here we are. I decided I was going to make it complex. So I sewed this by hand. I did running stitch and I did 2 stitches forward and then back 1 stitch and 2 stitches forward just to make it nice and sturdy. So let me show you the other side. So on this side, at this point, I folded it and sewed it together. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I need to cut part of this off. And leave enough to fold this under. I'll just pin that temporarily. One thing I should say is that this doesn't have to be cut on the bias. It's cut on the bias so that it goes around corners and stuff easily. This one's not going around a corner, so there. And I left my thread in there. So that I could just continue. Now, I'm going to fold this up this way, and then these little marks here, and then that. This is not easy to do on camera. Okay, it goes this way, and this way, and this way. And like that. And I think what I want to do is put in some basting stitches that will come out later. But before I do that, okay, I went and got some clamps. And I wanted to make sure that this was, or at least that it looked even. So I'm going to baste this, which just means I'm going to take some white thread and sew it down. And I can take this out later if I wanted to. And I could probably do this on the sewing machine, but I'm just really enjoying lately sitting and sewing by hand. And that is what it's all about, right? Okay, now I can trim this just a bit because we don't need all that bulk in that corner. And then I'm going to hide my knot here. I had to cut it off. Well, I cut it off by accident, to be honest. All right, so this gets folded up like this. And then I'm going to fold it around to the back. Before I do that, let's just put a pin in this. Oh, I could sew this. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just sew this to there. Lovely background noises, eh? Oh, it's funny. I watched Jennifer Clouston and she has, birds chirping and she says, "Hello, crow. Good morning, crow." And I have, trash bins. All right, let's fold this. Open this. Like this. Normally you would, this is an overcast stitch, and you would hide these stitches, make them, tiny, and hide them. But I don't want to do that. Could, of course, if I wanted, but I want them to show. So now I'm going to sew this down with an overcast stitch. And I want to make sure that I'm only going through the front or the back. I want to make sure that I'm just going through this fabric. This is much easier off camera. I'm just gotta say, much more pleasant an experience. Okay. I'm going to do this off camera and I'll come back. Okay, I wanted to show you how I'm going to handle this instead of just folding it down like that first. I'm going to fold it over this edge. And then, this is really fiddly. Then I'm going to fold that in. There we go. I didn't do this on the other side. And it probably doesn't matter. All right. Good enough. right, let me zoom you out a little bit. Well, heck. Here we go. So now I have my box bottom little pouch. And I think I'm going to put my Christmas fabrics in here to store them. There we go. That's my video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Before I go, people sometimes ask, where did you get your fabrics? These I got probably at the Joann store, which is no longer there. I'm gonna do photos. Maybe I'll just put photos in here. Anyway, you can take a picture, take a screenshot. I'll zoom in a little bit. And if you do a reverse image lookup, you can find, you might be able to find these fabrics. I don't know. I got them a while ago. This, I'm pretty sure you can still find. This is Tulip Pink. This is, some of these are not necessarily Christmas fabrics, and I cut off the selvages and save them, so they're other places. That's probably not a Christmas fabric. This is definitely Christmas. And this is Christmas. So if you want to try to find them online, you can do that. Take pictures, do a reverse image lookup. I did get my sequins. These I got from Jennifer Clouston in a starter pack. And you can get those on the Color Streams website, which is spelled Colour, Color Streams. If you look for COLOR, you won't find it. Because that's, Anyway. Now that's all for now. Do some pretty pictures. Bye for now.